Hi, Elise. Did we get started yet?
We're up and running, but still waiting for the conference room to join.
Thank you. Just wondering what was going on. We can't hear any of the video.
Thanks, we haven't started yet.
Okay, thanks.
All right, welcome everybody. I'm going to call this meeting of the Finance Committee, et cetera, to order. Oh, it's all the same one. You've got, everybody else has it.
I was just passing it right now. Can you just pass it?
Community development. Did not go to packet there?
I'm sorry. I handed some that way and then I'm handing.
I understand that, but there's a whole bunch that are in that packet right there, right?
Oh, okay.
So,
I see it. You have all of them in one.
Yeah, so just turn to community development.
Exactly. It's all the way at the end. But actually, so the way.
All right. What's going on with your budget?
hold on. Sorry about that. Actually, over the last few years, we've had less in our department to do, and when the department shrunk, we also shrunk in size of employees. And right now, the only thing that we have is CDBG, and I do the majority of the work for the CDBG program, and I run the KLBC program, our department. And Amy does the vouchering, and she's fairly well versed in the CDBG program. So it's not like I cannot have somebody, but I need to have somebody who knows what they're doing. And she's also been helping the engineering department, so it might be a good fit for her to be able to continue to work with both, because there's not enough to keep her busy with with community development.
So are you saying she's now part-time in your department?
Yeah,
Okay.
And the rest of your time to the engineer.
it could be. I mean, she's helping them now. I mean, I can't speak for what somebody else's
Right, okay.
Okay.
budget could be or would be. I didn't look at anybody else's.
Oh, so I guess we have to look at the budget to see if she's in there.
She's involved in both budgets. She's split between two departments.
Oh, and that's in the budget for next year. Thank you.
Yes.
Okay.
Any questions, comments, observations?
And that's why the salaries and related costs have gone down.
Yes.
Okay.
For the community development budget?
And if this question, the same goes to for contracted services, because you have less overall.
No,
That's,
when you say contracted
oh,
services.
here in the budget, it says contracted services in the recommended budget are $10,000. So
Oh,
the
that's
variance
for
from
the, that's for the
2024.
auditor.
That's the auditor.
The audit.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
So the auditor just audits what?
So the city has an auditor, and we have to have a special audit because of our program.
Because of
So we,
HUD?
yes,
So HUD.
so there's an additional fee for them to do the CDBG audit. It's considered a special grant, correct?
It's a federal grant, so it's audited. It's what the auditors would consider a major program, and the major programs have to be, that they receive like a special attention in the audit, essentially where they go in and they look at specific things, federal compliance, basically with those programs. Same for the ARPA program, that's another major program. But historically, CDBG has always paid a portion of the overall city audit bill.
So,
Yeah, I mean, in this case, it's city money anyway, it's just another line. This isn't being paid by the federal government or federal funds.
Right, but why would it have gone down by 5,000?
Because when we went out, we didn't contract with the until the 2024 budget was complete, I believe. And the fee came down from what we had expected.
oh,
So,
what a surprise.
yeah, one of the few nice ones, yes.
Okay.
Or we just did so well that they thought that we would have to pay less.
That sounds good.
Yeah, I like that.
Okay, anything else? All right, thanks so much.
Thank you.
I think we'll just leave that the way it is. So next we'll do IT, that's in your Since we're following along in the book, we are at 57.
I should also point out, IT also has a capital request, and we're going down right there's. IT and engineering are the only two departments tonight that have a capital request.
All right, since everything in your department is virtual, are we talking about your real money?
I wish, not there yet.
All right, so let's see some changes. What do you want to draw our attention to?
The biggest change is service contract, just with the
Yep.
general sense of just about half of the items on there, all the costs are going up. And then there was one addition for a sensor for operational technology.
And what is that?
Sensors that monitor water, wastewater network specifically. So that was a $25,000 add-on,
Wow, okay.
which next year probably won't, due to when we implemented it this year, it'll probably be about 6 months of it. The number will be a little lower than what you actually see there.
You feel like you've got the right amount of manpower in your department?
Yep.
Person power?
Yep, we're rolling through it.
And then, are you working on the city's website?
So we had a contract thrown at us from the new vendor that took over for our existing website.
Mhm.
The initial one that they proposed, they actually got backlash from other clients. So we were on pause for a little bit, and I know that the mayor's on it too. He wants me to go full head on it. We were recently trying to get Barbara back on to the new contract, Barbara Graves, to review it and get us some feedback before we do anything for their newer site, before we move to that one. But in process.
Because it'd be nice to have this actually in the 21st century.
Yeah, that is dated now, hasn't had any major revisions in at least 10 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
And it shows.
Yeah. Well, the vendor that bought them has been moving people over, but the first product that they chose to move people over to, some of the functions that we have now where every department can edit it on their own, they lost.
Oh.
So some smaller municipalities, then the IT or whomever was doing that work had to take on more work to do all the work for the departments that they were doing.
Oh, boy.
So we kind of put a pause for a moment there. I think that's all rectified now. They changed the version of it up a little bit, but we're just slight pause, but that was moving ahead again.
What
And-
is oh, I'm so
I'm sorry, I was gonna say, and when it does move ahead, what would be sort of the time frame in which?
I think we're looking for, most of it can be done in like usually about 3 months. So.
Oh.
Just copy what we have to a new site layout, not a total redo, just more of a reskin to the newer product that they're moving everybody over to.
Okay.
But does that mean it'd be more navigable
Yes, yeah, the newer standards require it. Yeah.
and on multiple devices?
Correct. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, Summer and I, actually more Summer now than me, we've been deleting a lot of pages. There was a site count of pages that we had to get below to be able to convert for free.
Mhm.
We were below that. I'm not sure if we still, we're probably right around the down pricing pages, but that was some work that we did about a year ago. Actually, to be able to start moving forward with it.
Okay,
And what is standby pay?
That is on call pay. So the 2 employees that work in IT get put on call. They rotate and take shifts.
So if something goes wrong with the council meeting.
No,
Yeah, it's part, so CSCA has an agreement with them to pay them, so they get paid to be on call, and then they can potentially, if they have to come in, get paid to come in. If they do it remote, they don't get any additional pay. That's included.
So this is outside of their.
You don't work any hours. Yeah, somebody's on call 24/7.
oh, wow, okay.
And
Yeah, we're not just city hall, police, fire, water,
I see,
24/7.
So if y'all get lonely, you can call. All right, anything else for any questions, comments about the information technology budget?
Yeah, how's the world of cybersecurity going?
Always trying to improve. That's what the OT department is one of our major additions this year. That's
Okay.
No doubt that's going to continue.
Always.
All right,
Okay,
hearing nothing else then? Thanks, Kyle. Thank you for all you do.
This is capital, John, you want?
And we're doing the
now?
capital, that's right.
Yeah, there's capital,
Other questions or-
capital is
All right, it's a whole bunch of machinery
Computer network equipment, $135,000.
in various departments, right?
It's citywide.
It's 75 plus desktop laptops, some upgrades to our phone system, building department had some requests, fire department had some requests. It's all worked together on 35.
Mm-hmm. You agree with that? I think we're good. Thank you,
Yeah, I
sir.
think so.
All right, then the next item, Emily, you're here. You're here before Bartek, so we will. No, you were here before he was, though.
Okay.
So I'm going on first come, first serve. So we're looking here at health and wellness. This is in the book, page 51. What's going on budget-wise in health and wellness?
You'll see my budget is positive, so it's a smaller budget this year. Mostly that's due to one position being eliminated, so that's basically what you will see here is, we were Department of 3, and now we're Department of 2.
And what was the position that was eliminated?
It was another health and wellness, it was a program, project manager for the Liverpool Kingston Commission. So if you all remember, there's sort of two main programs in my department. There's the Liverpool Kingston Commission, and then there's the Creating Healthy Schools and Communities.
Yes.
So we had two program project managers. Kristen is the Creating Healthy Schools and Communities project director.
Okay.
And Marcia was the other one. And so Marcia left us. And so then the position was open.
I see. Thank you.
Other questions, comments, concerns, enthusiasms?
Pretty straightforward. And Emily does a great job.
And what is the nature of the federal assistance that you're getting?
That is our Creating Healthy Schools and Communities grant.
Mhm.
It's the funding that comes in. It's a reimbursement program, so whatever we spend, we reimburse for.
Okay. Anything else? Looks all healthy and wellnessy to us.
I think that's it.
Thanks for being here.
Thank
Thanks for
you.
keeping us on the right track. Bartek. Come and talk to us. We are in pages 53 and 54. Hi, Bartek. So my first question to you is, what is Sugar Skull and why are you taking small people to it?
My son forced me to go because he loved the first showing. I had to go to the second show.
Okay,
And so that's what Sugar Skull is all about.
all right. I was watching you all cross.
Oh, you were there? Okay, yes.
No, I wasn't there. I was driving.
Oh, you were driving. Oh.
And he was careful not to miss it.
Thanks for that information. Now I know what demographics Sugar Skull is aimed at. Okay. So
Kids only.
yeah. Any big changes in your budget?
There are some pretty significant changes to my budget. And the primary drive of that is that my office will have a new responsibility starting next year. And that responsibility is to help the city restart its tax foreclosure process, which the city has not pursued really since the beginning of COVID for obvious reasons.
Right.
But in reviewing with the comptroller and the mayor, it's time to take another look at that process, given the city's current interim list. And so my office will be driving that process, and you'll see that there's a new consultants line on here, which the intention of that is to hire a legal counsel that housing initiatives would work with to complete that process.
Do you think 300,000 is that not low?
So you're referring to the gain,
Gain sale of other property.
well, that is not related, that's related to something else, right, John? Is that the,
What is
The sale of the firehouse,
Oh, oh,
volunteer firehouse.
Oh, this is the sale of it.
That's the expected revenue from the sale of a city-owned property.
Okay. Well, so other city-owned property, so if you're successful in selling other city-owned property, it's not shown here.
no,
Okay.
right, no.
Correct, but it's generally not revenue, for budgetary purposes because, essentially, you have to apply the city's basis in that property as the back taxes. And then there's, new regulations on any gain has to be turned over to the court, so, really, there's no, yeah, there's no budgetary impact, but I can say, Bartek's work's important because there's a significant cash flow impact of the foreclosure process and,
So it's important on many levels, right?
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and keep in mind, the city is making the school district and the county hall and all these back taxes every year. So that allows us to recoup some of that.
What
Anything
are,
else?
like the court witnesses, fees?
So those are, the in-rem process requires a bunch of, I shouldn't say a bunch of, court filings
Okay.
for the process to go through. And so those are expected fees associated with any filings.
How many,
I
properties are on the in-rem list now?
John would have a more up-to-date.
It's several dozen. I don't know that I have a count. I have a spreadsheet where we track it. I don't necessarily count how many properties, but
Yeah, I mean,
I can look it up.
you can imagine, right, given that the city hasn't pursued any filings in a while, that list tends to grow over time.
and the regular pay line went from 80 to 94.
Yes,
That is associated with your pay.
that's right.
That would be a raise of 13.5.
That's right.
And that's for the new responsibilities that you'll be
Yes,
undertaking.
that's right.
But will you hire someone else?
So there is no other position in my department. I will be hiring outside legal counsel to help me with the process, which is the consultants line you see here, the 55,000. But there's no other person in my department managing this process other than myself.
How is that different?
That's a lot of work.
There's a lot of
Wow.
It will be, yeah.
So it says here that there's a requested, or so it's not recommended, you had requested help? Is that?
I did, yes.
Okay.
There's approximately just over 75 properties that are in there.
75?
And once again, some of those are, there's actual structures on it, but there's quite a few that are just vacant land as well. So, I mean, that's just, approximately 75 SBLs. So,
My house on the list?
you know your SBL?
It's got some numbers in it.
I think you're okay. I don't think it's like you're okay.
So how is the consultant line different from contracted services?
The contracted services is for, let's get these lines mixed up, but the contracted services is for some other functions that I need help with, including but not limited to potentially outside help for the next vacancy study, which my office is charged with doing in the spring of next year.
I see.
Spring of next year.
Yes.
So contracted services is technical help and consultant services is professional help?
I think that's a
Okay.
fair distinction in this case. Yeah.
All right, other questions, comments?
Why did hospital medical go up?
So for the first 2.5 years that I was employed by the city, I was on my wife's insurance,
Okay.
but due to circumstances, I no longer.
Anything else?
Is that-
Hear nothing else, then thank you, Bartek.
Thank you.
Still those houses. 55.
I believe the next person who wanted them is Dan. Don't get into anything difficult, Dan.
Okay.
We're sailing along here. All right. The assessor is at page 17 in the book.
Like 25. You're 6.
There's no significant change really in, Dan's budget, it increases in contractual in terms of pay.
Here's the main thing though, is, do you have the right number of personnel in your office? Are you able to handle the work at this point?
I do believe so that we did.
Okay. Yeah. Because you were down a year or two ago, right?
Yeah, we've had some changes in the office, but we've had consistently, the 3 positions plus myself for the past few years now. We've had some turnover, but I think we're in a really good spot right now with, staff.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, any questions?
How are we doing with like all the reassessments that we're like talking about for a few years? Like for building, people that have building permits and done work.
So we're consistently monitoring, building safety. We have developed a, process to upload their permits and also their certificate of occupancies. And we have a full-time data collector who manages that process, and we meet weekly. New permits, what is closed, and at that point in time, he's up there doing a lot of field work, getting the plans. The building department has done a good job getting a lot of the plans up online, which is good to see. So annually, we will, throughout the year, take a look at those closed permits or even permits that have finished but haven't closed, because sometimes that happens. And we'll look to see if those improvements add any value comparatively to other similar situated properties. So that's how we will revalue. We're not doing an annual reassessment on every single property. What we do is we use an equalization rate, and assessments stay the same. We have an equalization rate that adjusts, and that equalization rate is pinned against the assessment, and then a fair market value is stated on the assessment also. So everyone has an assessment and a fair market value. And the fair market value is an expression of the equalization rate and the assessment. And the equalization rate is measured by looking at sales that have come through and comparing them to their assessed value. For lack of a better term, you might use an average or some other statistic measure to get a gauge as to where properties lie in their overall valuation compared to their assessment.
And does the city do an overall assessment at any point, or does the equalization rate that's done annually sort of?
Equalization rate is done annually. The last time the city did an overall valuation modification reviewing all property types was 2019.
Oh, okay.
We did do a review in 2020, but then the pandemic hit. And, it was a difficult time as to whether to continue to proceed with the revaluation And we, made an administrative decision that at that point in time, when we didn't know we we're gonna be able to have in-person grievances, to send out nearly
Interesting.
8,000 change of assessment notices in a time where it was quite confusing for a lot of people.
Mhm.
And we had done a full revaluation, a reappraisal reassessment since 2008. It was probably a more appropriate time to step into an equalization rate. And then our administration and this council sometime in the future talk about a full revaluation, which, we're in that realm where conversations like that could be had, whether the investment wants to be made, and if not, quite confident with the assessed values and the fair market value that's expressed on the roll right now. Obviously, there's always room for tweaks and, whittling down onto evaluation of properties, but I'm confident that the numbers that are there right now are solid numbers.
And if the city were to do a full reevaluation, that would be, you'd be bringing outside people, that would be a cost to the budget.
Yeah,
to
I would
bring in
say
people.
most likely, high likelihood we would put out a RFP,
Mhm.
get some bids, we would have to, write that RFP and see, what kind of services specifically we'd be looking for. It's about a 2-year process after award. It would require a full reinspection of all properties.
Wow.
So it's a lengthy process,
Yeah.
that, shouldn't necessarily be rushed. And we've got a unique for the county, types of properties. So, and it's lots of density, so it would take a considerable amount of time.
And probably the money that would accompany that.
Yeah, at that point in time,
Yeah.
we would have to build a consensus as to whether we want to invest those types of resources into evaluation.
And that's typically what, $100,000, it's a, am I under lowballing?
Yeah, I would think that estimate would be quite low.
Okay,
Yeah,
no, I'm just trying to,
yeah.
an
I don't
understanding
want to
of
say
your-
what it would be, but that would be very, 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 very low side.
Yeah, let's wait and see if we're in a recession after January 20th. Then we can think.
I would say this, we're in the,
down the road.
where our equalization rate is right now.
Mhm.
We're in the position if, I don't have a crystal ball, but if values were to swing back, we would have room where that equalization rate could rise and fair market values could drop at the same time, where it wouldn't put us at risk of going over 100%. That, if we can't have an equalization rate above 100%, then at that point in time, that might be a time where we would be a little bit forced of the hand to do that. But we're not in that position. I don't foresee that anytime in the near future.
Well, thank you for that explanation.
What does, people being like able to appeal or look like we used to do it like one day, so now that
Sure,
it's a
yeah.
new system?
Anyone, every year, owns a property, has the right to make an appeal. Fourth Tuesday in May, that
that's
specific
dated,
date
okay.
has changed. They can make file claim each year. There's a form they can get in my office, or they can go online and receive a manual on how to do it, how to file a complaint. Our office is, obviously charged to receive complaints and deliver them to the board of assessment review. We do that willingly, and they, people who have questions about the process, we're happy to answer those questions. So it's, for any of your constituents that have questions, we're happy to answer them for them. How to go from A to B, and then lots of times we have good resolutions. People come in and they do have complaints, lots of times they're legitimate. If they're not, we explain maybe why it is or is not, and it's a good chance to talk about the property and their opinion of value and my opinion of value and how we, can, see which one is best suited for the property. So every year, they have a right to complain each year, so it doesn't mean once you make a complaint, your time is stopped for a certain amount of period of time.
Anything else? All right, thank you, Dan.
Thank you.
Thank you, have a good evening.
You too.
So you were next. Then Dan. All right, planning, is pages 61 through 63.
Which, you want to start with, 7510 is the historian, there's no change there at all. Pretty straightforward.
Despite the historian changing his day job,
Very minimal stipend, annual stipend, under a contract with him, and then just, some supporting funds for him to use.
Are there any questions regarding the historian's office?
Wasn't there some discussion about, I'm not familiar with all the line items, there's some discussion about paying board members, planning board members, a stipend or something?
Right, that was in all the rules.
Yeah,
And
we didn't come forward, yeah.
Ah, okay, gotcha.
All right. The next item, no changes really, mostly discussing historical property, yeah. So we want to planning per se.
There's a couple of minor changes there. We had this year requested a consultant line. We have not had one historically. We find the need occasionally to engage a professional historic preservation consultant to assist the Historic Landmarks Preservation Commission. We've been pulling funds from a planning line when needed, so we felt that it's appropriate to put it directly into the landmarks account. There's maintenance on the building for the Volunteer Firemen's Museum. That is an increase there, and that is to replace the alarm system, which is completely outdated and can no longer be serviced by the alarm company. It's not fully functional. It is a historic property. There is quite a large historic collection of materials. So to safeguard that, I think it's appropriate that we spend the money and put a new system in there. So that's that. And then to do seminars and association fees is a new line, and that is to join a historic preservation group. That would provide actual training for the commission members. It's $100 fee to join, and then the 55 is for training sessions, 6 separate training sessions for our board members, commission members. And I think that's very important in light of, the fact that they are seeing a lot of larger projects and issues that require a certain degree of technical expertise and background knowledge. And so for them to be brought up to date and have that knowledge in their wheelhouse when they're evaluating these proposals, I think is very appropriate.
How is that different from the first line, or the earlier dues, seminar association fees?
$750.
$750.
Oh, that's the historian.
Oh, that's.
And it's 7510 is the city historian, and
Gotcha.
7520 is a separate account. That's historic properties. That's, yep.
Okay, anything else regarding planning?
Planning is pretty status quo, contractual expenses primarily. No other changes really. And 8560, you'll see a lot of change there. Obviously, that's the urban forester, that's the shade tree account. And 98% of that is grant funded and covered. We included again this year a small amount of 5,000 for funds to assist property owners with removals that seem to be, it's picking up
a lot of interest. So we do $500 stipends to help offset some of the costs. Some of them are upwards of $3,000-$4,000, depending on the tree that's being removed. So it does assist them a little bit. It's a reimbursement only. And the Memorial Tree Fund does the same thing. So we do, we feel that it's appropriate when we're directing them to remove trees that are within the public right of way. As the abutting property owner, they have that responsibility, and, so the city tells them, you have to do this. It can be a huge hit to a lot of landowners and property owners.
So, with that fund, if we are helping them take down a tree, does that include removal of the stump, or it's just down to the ground?
We require, the tree commission has to be approved by the tree commission before, they just can't go and take it down. So they need that approval first. And then, the tree commission requires stump grinding 6 inches below grade, and covered back over with, and reseeded so that it's not a tripping hazard. And then also if the tree has created tripping hazards on the sidewalk, the property owner is also directed to repair the sidewalk. So it's, might be resetting bluestone, might be just pouring new concrete, depending on the situation where it's located.
Okay.
That's a lot of burden on the homeowner.
It is, it's a lot of work.
So it's nice the city is making at least a small contribution.
Yeah.
Anything else for Sue?
Thank you for all the work with all the historic designation. That's been a lot of work, I know.
Yeah, I mean, we're excited. Wilbur will be hopefully moving forward with the state and national and Kentucky too. So it's, yeah. Okay, all right, thank you. Have a good night.
That could be somebody's mistake.
What is it?
Mistake, it's Wilbur Pankaki. And then
Or a
you could be an
band.
author. You could be an author, wouldn't you? That's not really-
Yes, not very long for an actor's.
Yeah.
You want to clean that stuff?
Yeah. Sure. Unless you want to arm wrestle, do you want to arm wrestle summer for it? Along the same. So grants is page 49. Big changes, big news, anything to draw our attention to?
Nothing in our budget that's new or unusual. We just try to keep it really trim. There's no standout information to share on it.
What is your staff level? How many people do you have?
Well, including myself, but we have 2 full-time. I'm full-time with Natalie Kickle, and then we share 2 half-time people with the comptroller's office, Pat and Bailey. So they're working on a lot of grants, accounting-related activity, but also other work for John. So
They're both full-time employees who are split between the 2 departments.
The last line, the American Rescue Plan grant, so the funding has to be spent by a certain date.
we have to have all of the funding obligated by this December 31st, but we have another 2 years to finish spending
So
it.
that would be that 92,000.
This in particular is Bill Reynolds' salary.
Oh.
The rest of the ARPA funding is not reflected in this budget.
Have you heard anything about the new administration clawing back ARPA funds?
No, well, we already have the money technically.
We do,
So,
okay.
yeah, it's not like a reimbursement program. Money was issued up front,
Oh.
but we have to spend it down and report as we go.
So there are quarterly reports that Bill and Pat are working on together. So that's in safe shape.
Our expectation is we'll be obligated by the deadline.
Yes. Don't foresee any difficulty with that.
Great. Other questions, concerns, issues, enthusiasms?
The ARPA fund, it says on one page requested 82, recommended 82, but then on this page it says requested 82 and then recommended 92.
I don't have
It's,
that.
it's probably just fine tuning, because that number represents, one person's entire salary and benefits, so depending on where the salary and benefits lies, we don't necessarily have all those numbers on the requested level, but when it gets to the recommended level, we have those figures. And just so everyone's aware too, on page of the budget, we have this, on page 123 of the printed budget is the page that has the breakdown of all the grant revenue by department. And it shows, the employees for which we're receiving grant reimbursements for. We tried to do this for transparency reasons. We added this page a number of years ago.
So these are the grant funded positions.
Yes, yeah, so yeah, on page 123 are all the grant funded positions. On page 122 are all the positions that are allocated between multiple departments.
I guess, good, no?
That's okay.
Thank you.
You did
Great work.
Very good work, yeah.
Thank you for bringing in all those
It's
millions.
important.
This year was a busy year. I just tallied how many applications we've done. By the end of the year, we'll have done about 36 or 37 grant applications. Not all successful, but many are. So,
Yes, thank you.
Let's be hopeful for next year.
yeah. It's a big unknown.
Yeah, it is. But thank you very much.
Thanks for being here. Summer?
The mayor's office want to go?
No, I can go there.
Okay.
I'm here all day.
We just want to hear what everybody, yes.
Okay, hi. Hi.
Page 29.
29.
Okay, any big changes, surprises, continuities, you want to tell us about, Summer?
Everything is the same as last year. So my contract with service contract, dues, postage, office supplies. Everything is just the same. No changes.
Except for the usual increase in benefit costs and all of that, which, yeah.
Which I can
Right.
So do we have, any of the mailers coming out of your office in the budget, or?
Yes, so we just did one. I hope everyone got the 25 mph
Yes.
postcard that we did. It came out really nice. So yes, that's what really the 6,000 tends to be for, are the
Okay.
postcards. That will
Okay.
also be live Spanish interpretation at public meetings, that type of thing. So that's usually what my budget is mainly
Okay, and
used
that'll
for.
include the postage?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what would be the cost of sort of a general mailing that you're doing? How much would that, in other words, if there was another mailing that we might want to see go out, to all the citizens, at the general cost?
So the last one was really small, so it was easy to print, the design was pretty simple. I think that one was about 4,500.
Oh, okay.
So that one was on the less expensive side of some of the other ones, like
Postcards, yeah.
the big snow emergency mailers that we've done. Closer to 8,000.
Okay, that's okay.
Um, So,
Are we
yeah.
planning on doing a snow removal?
Yes, it has.
We.
Or are we counting on no snow?
I'm really hoping we have no snow, but, no, we haven't really talked about, I mean, are there changes to?
No, there are no changes. I know it just always takes people by surprise. And last year we had Steve, one snow emergency really.
And
And
it
I don't know,
was,
maybe a refresher could be helpful. And but I think it'd probably be the same. I don't know, you wanted me to do what I did last year and wrap you, me and Ed and Brian?
sure,
We just don't have any money.
yeah, I mean,
So we'd have to have the council authorize.
it would have
Oh,
to
so it
be,
come from this budget.
it would have to be January.
Or it would have to be this budget,
Yeah.
with like a budget amendment that you guys make
I see.
now for like the December meeting. So that we could get it out the door after your December 3rd meeting, we did like a budget transfer, but we don't
I
have,
see.
you don't have any left, right? You have maybe like $1,000 left?
No, and I'm probably gonna need a new laptop, so anything I have left is gonna be kind of scrounged for that.
Well, does the council and Steve, I mean, do you think it's necessary this year?
We could start doing just our regular communications, Facebook posts, and I don't know if we need another mailer, but
I would be in favor of a mailer. I just think there's just such high turnover and a lot of people moving in and, I mean, I'm good with allocating it because we're just gonna get the complaints, so.
Yeah, it's fine with me, I don't have any issues with spending the money.
Yeah, I mean, we did a small one last year. We didn't send out the big one. We did a smaller one last year, the
I think
size
it
of
was, I
25.
think it was pretty big.
No,
No,
I have it. I have it
Really?
smaller. Yeah, it was smaller.
We had
Oh, I think we shrunk it down.
You shrunk it.
I think it was just smaller. I think
Yeah.
it was the same as like
Yeah,
the flyer size, we just shrunk it down.
yeah.
Oh, I just remember getting a lot of information on that thing.
Yes,
Okay.
because it changed, right? I mean, it was new, and so,
Mm.
And we also had the rule of the dead ends on there too, I
Right.
believe.
that was
That
new,
was-
and then fairly recently, the snow emergency routes where you can park, that was new.
Yeah.
Couple
On the
of years
Broadway,
ago.
yeah.
Right.
So if someone got you a quote before your wrap-up meeting next week, could that possibly work to then do a committee report?
Yeah.
Out of that finance meeting?
Yeah.
Because she could click on our page based on what we did last year, and we could get an actual real cost for you before that meeting.
And if they already have the design on file, it should be pretty straightforward.
Yeah, then I'll
We'll
just
do
double
it.
check with Ed and Ryan to see if there's anything that they felt. But it was just so little snow last year.
Right.
Right.
Wasn't it March?
There were like two
Yeah.
very
There was a lot of
minor
like
snowstorms.
ice.
They
So
wait
they
till
weren't
it-
out often, but it was a lot of ice,
Yeah.
not snow. So I think we only actually called a snow emergency once or twice.
Maybe twice.
It's just when I go on vacation. So that's how you can know when it's gonna snow. It happens when I go on vacation.
Yeah, God.
Well, you can't go on vacation, huh?
Yeah.
March.
So the $6,000 here is for just regular other mailings that you do? What are the other mailings that go out that are standard?
Mailings, I'm trying to think what other ones we did this year, but it's also for, like live Spanish translation, if we
Okay,
have a
yeah.
public meeting, that type of thing.
Okay.
We've done lawn signs, we've done, for our, road safety campaign. It's just sort of like a catch-all for those types of materials.
And have you found that those lawn signs have been effective? You can't tell,
It's hard to tell, yeah.
right? Now, road
I know
safety
that-
is very important. The
Yeah.
question is, I'm just sort of wondering what the various methods in which we get on information and whether
Right.
that's effective compared to another mailing or a,
I think the
And-
lawn signs for road safety made sense. I don't know that it would make sense for other types of communications. Like, I don't think it would make sense for the snow.
no, not for the snow, no.
Can't get them into the ground.
You're right. Okay, yeah, thank you.
Yeah, sure. That's it.
Yeah.
Nice.
Thank you so much.
One thing.
All right.
No one else?
Then we'll go to John Schulteis, or, yeah. And then Kit. Engineer. Hey, howdy. Page 47.
I've got the worst lighting, I think. How's everybody?
Good, how are you?
Good, thanks.
Any big changes, surprises?
I think the biggest thing you'll notice is I'd have, 4 full-time positions now in the department for the full year. Whereas, this year was a partial year for my 4th guy. It's the biggest thing I'm seeing different here.
Okay. Yeah, the other things that are changing are not your control.
Right.
So yeah, that's a good number in your department. So is that the number that you need right now, the number of employees?
Yeah, yes. We have quite a lot that we're doing, in-house design, in-house inspection, especially next year. For a lot of projects in the past, we might have used consultants. We're doing with our own city forces now.
Nice.
So, yes.
Any other questions for John?
I just have questions for the capital plan.
All right, let's go to that capital plan issue. There are 2 items under engineering.
Sure.
So what's the traffic calming equipment?
Right. So I know the mayor is prioritizing certain lower cost, quick implementation devices. It could be striping, it could be signage. It might be something as much as a speed hump or speed table. In certain cases, these are the kinds of things that he's, I think, intending with that line item.
Why does it go into the capital plan? If not be.
I mean, it's just from, I think, my perspective anyway, they're large enough that the money could roll over from year to year if we don't end up spending it all in one year. Depending on the type of project, some of them, we could allocate the money to put a speed table on a certain street, but in the end, we don't pay in time, and the speed table, so it gives us a little bit more flexibility in that, but it also, some of these are more capital than general operating. Because, some of the equipment could be like low hanging fruit, but even like if we were to do a rapid flashing beacon, it costs like $10,000. So it could rise to the level of something that we would want to look at on a capital basis. I think, to be honest, if we had more flexibility in the budget, it could also go in the budget, but we just don't have flexibility in the budget. Always I don't.
And how would we prioritize things to?
I mean, my general sense is that, we would solicit feedback from all of you as to kind of key areas. We also have a pedestrian and bicycle master plan, and we have, some other work that kind of is the second item also on your engineering list there, but we have some plans that have identified some key areas that are of concern, especially in the planning document. So between that, complaints from residents, your feedback, John could then look at those and identify, what is feasible within the parameters of, the public works schedule and what can be done in-house versus what can be done or needs to be bid and designed. So kind of a mix, I don't have like a clear.
I would suggest you also want to use the data we get from our feedback sites.
Yes.
Which makes it easier to defend.
Right.
When they get a speed limit, I didn't.
Right, I mean, that's
If data that shows that it needs to go there or not.
Yeah.
You
So John, everyone on, well, not everyone, but mostly everyone on Westchester is very grateful and thank you.
Most everyone. Well, we'll take that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a win.
Really a lot, very happy, so.
And in fact, the people from my ward who drive on Westchester are so excited about it that they want some in our ward.
How did they get
I know. So it was, yeah, it's working.
So traffic calming, we may want to look into barbiturate misters as well. I don't know if they make those, but anyway. The other item is the sidewalk improvement plan. What's that about, John?
Right. Well, I know the rough outlines of it, but I think that the mayor has a more detailed proposal about that.
I think one of the things you guys may remember, you approved a few months ago, the grants management office to submit for a grant to be able to have a sidewalk improvement plan created in the city. That general concept would be to allow us to identify each individual sidewalk area in the city where both sidewalks are and what sidewalks are lacking. We've done a lot of that mapping work, but what we don't have necessarily is the condition of those sidewalks on a sidewalk, like by sidewalk, street by street basis, so that a sidewalk improvement plan would identify, areas in need, whether they need ADA accessibility and the condition, but then it would take it a step further by hiring a consultant to really be able to evaluate based on the work that the Complete Streets Advisory Council has done to figure out what is the best way for a city like ours with our current situation, our current charter, and to advise us all on what is the best way to bring our sidewalks up into a better condition. And is that through a sidewalk improvement district? Is that through some other funding mechanism? Is it to continue through the status quo? Is it through increased enforcement? We don't really, the Complete Streets Advisory Council has presented us with a variety of options, but I can't say to you today, I think we should do this. And I'm not sure any of you can really point to a single decision point either. So we feel like we need to have that plan. And so what I propose, even though we haven't heard back from that grant yet, my point is with putting this in the capital plan is that regardless of whether we hear back from the grant, I really think we should do this. And so that's why I thought it was worth putting that in there so that we could move forward, once we hear back from the grant, soon, one way or the other, we could, initiate this process, find a consultant, have them look at all the work we've already done, which is extensive compared to some other places, and then be able to get this, project up and running. And then hopefully, with a few months later, be able to provide us with a report so that we could then have conversations with the community about what is our best way forward so that we can bring our sidewalks into better condition.
Would that, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Would that include like even more ADA ramps? Would they look at that? And
Yes.
okay.
Yep, identify, because there's even ramps that were done, say, 20 years ago in the city that still don't meet ADA compliance. In the last 2 years, we've done 200 ramps. And so we do plan on doing another round of ADA ramps in 2025. But there's so many that still need to be done.
Yeah. So like I have like a situation in my ward, like where somebody's requesting, say, a crosswalk, but if there's no ADA ramps, then like would that have to like be something that's gonna wait until the whole?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, generally John doesn't, and John can speak to that, but generally we don't like to put crosswalks to non-compliant areas. It creates liability issues for us if the intersection is not fit for that sidewalk. John, is that accurate relatively?
Right. I mean, by New York state law, every intersection already has a crosswalk legally. But in terms of marking them, we tend to mark the higher use ones, and that's where we've prioritized those, 200 ramps with more to come. And not every location that has ramps needs paint either. That's considered an upgrade from the basic minimum. In certain very low traffic areas, like oftentimes where there's no painted stop bar, there won't be a painted crosswalk either.
Thank you.
Yep.
And are there any, are we under any pressure or impetus from the federal government in terms of ADA compliance?
Yeah, so as a part of the ADA Act, every community has basically a transition plan. And so as part of our pedestrian and bicycle master plan that we did, our goal is to bring all of our sidewalks up to meet ADA compliance. And in the foreseeable future, whatever that date may be. But yeah, our goal is to do as much as we can to get all of our sidewalks and, in our current code, unless we change it, a lot of that impetus also falls on private property owners. And that becomes a challenge. And so again, that's the consultant could provide us some recommendations on how and if we should update our sidewalk code and to be able to better meet those conditions in the future. If we leave it as it currently is today, it's probably going to take us a very long time to meet the goals of the ADA.
Good, yeah.
Oh, so I just have a quick, but this highway, this sidewalks plan would also study potential sidewalks that might be needed to go in that don't exist currently, but would be helpful.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Other questions? Good, John.
Before we go, I do have a quick one. I noticed, and I probably should have gotten with John Toohey before this, but under tuition, the requested versus recommended, that's line 828 under 1440. That 4,000 was dropped. And I do have an employee, planning to advance his education and take advantage of that tuition. So I don't know if it's too late to be added back.
Is that contractual in the?
I don't think that's a contractual issue, is it?
No, it's not a CSEA.
It's, the contract provides for it, to the extent that budgetary funds are available. So it was removed for budgetary purposes, so, the council obviously has the ability to add that back in. You just have to figure out where you're gonna take it from.
So I'll just add that, this employee is looking to invest in himself. And I think in the coming years that, his ability to obtain this bachelor's degree would be a great advantage to the city, thinking in terms of future succession.
And how do you arrive at $4,000 is the right amount for that?
Yeah, so he's provided his list of expected classes he plans to enroll in and what the tuition costs are for that number of credits.
And where? He's already got a school picked out?
Yeah, he's been attending. You guys have approved a budget transfer related to this for the current year several months ago. He's up at Hudson Valley Community College in Troy.
And it's a reimbursement, right? It's first instance by the student, and then reimbursed if he's successful or she's successful?
That's correct.
Oh, okay.
Is there a requirement that they work for a certain amount of time?
If they have free service within 2 years of the reimbursement, they have to pay it back.
All right, we'll put that on the list of items to consider on Monday.
Great, thank you.
All right.
Thank you, John.
Thanks, John.
Have a good night. Thanks.
Kit, what's going on with your budget?
Hi,
Your patrons?
thank you, everybody, for seeing me. You'll see some reductions here. First of all, we are not going to have a consultant for public art policy and municipal art collection plan because now we have one. Thank you for passing it. And there's a lot of work to be done with it. And that's a lot of hands-on work. That's a lot of planning work. I have to embark upon, well, thanks to the mayor, because and I don't think that anything like this ever has gone on in the nation. We now have a staff public art policy committee, but we also are in the process of convening a public art committee comprised of professionals in the field, but also members of the committee at large. And there needs to be the goals and priorities established for these committees moving forward. This year coming in is going to be pretty much a planning year. you'll see a lot of zeros on this because I have plenty of supplies. I don't spend hardly anything in marketing at all because my partners support a lot of what I do, from the county to the Daily Freeman, which is very, very kind to us, very supportive, Radio Kingston. So I found myself not, and then of course we have Summer who is doing the graphics and everything. So as far as marketing is concerned, you see zero because that's pretty realistic. As far as programming is concerned, I will be doing, as you see, this beautiful Trina Green Sojourner Truth statue. We have some related programming going on. You'll see a reduction this year with music and movies in the parks. There will be no movies, mainly because when the movies in the parks were started years and years ago, there was really none in the city. And now we have many, many organizations that are showing movies. As far as the events are concerned, I will be doing a few music in the parks for this summer, but I also want to free up time to support the many, many events and festivals that are going on, and helping Radio Kingston to get them organized because there's a lot of need for that as well. Other than that, I don't know that you see much other in reduction.
Questions, comments?
Well, it just feels like you're doing a lot and there's just so much going on in the city and it's been really exciting and fun, so many events.
Yeah, well, I also want to emphasize that when I took this post, this was during COVID, but prior to that, I was concerned about cuts to the arts. Then we had COVID, and then we had this surge in this temporary COVID relief funding. I'm going back to worrying about funding for the arts. So I have to talk to the mayor and get permission for this because when I first came on board, we had it advertised on the website that I assist individual artists in applying for grants, reviewing your grants, assisting you with the pitch and what have you. It kind of became inundated. I really feel very strongly that now that the money for the temporary COVID relief money is now starting to dwindle down, that we're going to go back to that pre-COVID worry about the funding for the arts. A lot of organizations have kind of gotten used to this temporary money, and I'm kind of warning them, look out. And then we also have a new administration. I've been at this business for quite a long time, and I do have a life, but I do start to study every new administration that comes on after elections to see where they're going with the arts. I really don't believe that there'll be a lot of cuts, but then again, you never can tell. So I think that, a lot of my priorities really need to be focusing on individual artists and make sure they have support, because without the individual artists, we do not have the economy, the arts economy that we have in the city of Kingston. We can no longer boast that we can reinvest $160 million back into the economy unless we keep the individual artists very strong. And I also want to say that I want to spend more time on helping all the arts organizations that are keeping the youth that need us the most safe and off the streets. I'm concerned about their funding as well coming into the next couple of years. So that's where you'll see more of my efforts.
Questions, comments?
No, I just think that that's the perfect response.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kit.
Thank you.
Thank you for all you do.
Thank you.
Now just paint a window in your office. Get some sunlight in there, even if it's fake.
I know. That'd be great.
All right, thank you, Kit, appreciate it.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Yeah, so she's on the.
Yeah, she already reached out to me, I told her we would be fine, just going through it with her.
Okay.
I just don't want to forget to go through it.
No,
She reached out.
human rights.
Oh.
There really isn't anything in terms of,
Page
change.
56.
Yeah, I mean, the only changes are related to her contractual pay increase, and then contractual pay longevity went up, and then the related benefits, Social Security and retirement, Her contractual expenses are the same year over year.
And what do the contracted services cover?
Most of that is, training that she provides for the departments. She does, workforce training.
Yeah, we have an online program that employees can, get specialized training both, on their desktop, and they can choose from kind of a whole assortment of different classes. So that those can not only do some of the, like if someone misses a day when we have our sexual or, harassment trainings, they can take it online. So that it's not just offered once a year. And then there's also other classes about, answer the phone politely and, other types of, additional training that is something that's needed, and there's a whole catalog to choose from. So relatively reasonable price for, for staff. to be able
For
to
so many,
access
right,
all-
so many options, that's great.
Good with that?
That's good.
Mhm.
All right. Then I guess that leaves the mayor's office. And that is page 61. It's also famous highway.
It's 59.
Sorry, you're right, 59. Which is not a famous highway.
There must be one somewhere.
Yeah, there weren't really a lot of major changes. I think one of the things that you'll see is that there's myself and another employee that's covered in my office, and he had a change in status for his health insurance, and so you'll see that there was a health insurance increase.
Yeah.
There, they opted for a different plan, and it was discussed in the agreement already, but there was a 2.5% increase that was proposed for the mayor's salary. It's also in there, which equals about $2,500 overall between the sewer and the general budget.
How much of an increase did you give your direct reports?
So I think this management confidential, do they get 3.5 or 3.25?
Let's pull it up.
Yeah.
They're over, it's at least 3.
I think they mirror CSEA's, and so I think 2025 for now is 3.25.
Are we talking about management?
Management
right?
confidential.
Okay, just give me 1 second. Sorry.
While he's looking at,
Yeah, it's just, I'm sorry.
did you get a chance to look at Drew's proposal? Came out today.
Did you send it to me? I don't think you did. Did it?
From Drew's purpose?
It's 3.25.
3.25.
Except me.
No, you weren't, even though it is,
You're too.
says,
You're
to the
only
mayor.
I have a contract.
Thank you.
Oh, you're-
I have a 6-year contract, so I took 2.25 a year.
That don't seem like a good idea this time.
No, it's,
I've encouraged him to align with the rest of CSEA and management, so we'll work on that.
But so both CSEA and.
CSEA and
management
government.
confidential. Yeah, right, okay.
All right, so you're sending that, you're forwarding that to Steve?
I did,
Oh, okay. If you wouldn't mind, Steve, when you get it, we don't have to do it right now, but you just let me know in the next day or two what your opinion is.
Sure.
So it's basically making some money available to each ward for community events and things, but there's got a more detailed proposal.
Great.
Yeah, but no,
Thank you. Yeah.
Okay,
I'll let you know.
great.
Your meeting's Monday, right?
yeah.
Meeting Monday, right?
Okay.
So anything else?
Yeah.
That's good.
Okay.
In that case, thank you.
Great. You're welcome. Thank you guys.
Thanks for running the city so good.
We're trying.
I know it's not easy.
I've got great too.
Do you think you'll do those board meetings like next year too?
I do.
Okay.
Good.
Yeah, they were good.
Yeah, we just did a Steve Shabbat. We had a meeting last night, 4 to 8, and it was good. So we got Ward 9 next month here in City Hall. So, yeah.
No, I think my constituents really appreciated it. I mean, we had to do it, there weren't a lot of people there, it was so cold and outdoors, but we'll figure it out for next year.
Yeah.
But they really liked it.
Well, now we'll have a little few more months to choose from because we started it when we.
I know, exactly. It's like,
April,
okay, next month.
So we could do Ward 1 in February inside somewhere.
Inside, that's right.
Erwin, Summer first reached out and she's like, this would be like, I can't even think that far ahead. Like, please.
Well, think that far ahead. In my case, it was like, okay, next month.
There's
But,
some discussion over that.
We now have a church basement that we have been using for some of our meetings, and that's worked out very nicely.
Great.
Oh, really?
And it has heat.
But still,
It's good.
Heat's good in the winter. Okay,
all right,
so,
anything else? Anybody want to propose a fire tower? A new arterial through the middle of the city?
Make a motion to adjourn?
Okay, yeah, that's it.
I think that's appropriate.
I'm officially canceling Thursday.
Yeah.
I'm officially canceling Thursday.
Okay.
I'll send an email right now.
Oh, boy.
Yes.
Free
All right,
time.
thank you,
Thanks,
everyone.
Elisa. Thanks, everybody. Good night.
Thank you, everyone.
Good night, guys.
Good night.
Good night.